On this week's episode, Doctor Strange steps into the multiverse. Star Trek boldly goes to strange new worlds. And is Kenobi the galaxy's most wanted Jedi? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review. I'm actually conjuring it just like Doctor Strange right now. 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, because we are the #1 tabletop RPG streamer out there on Facebook. We have a ton of great games each and every month that's going on. Wizards and Wine, Vampires and Vitae, Demolition Force, the great games that Mitch runs on the weekends. It's a great time indeed, and we are, again, the #1 tabletop streamer that's out there on Facebook. Plus, you can catch the latest news and information each and every day in pop culture right there at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. And if you could support all that, plus our website, popculturecosmos.com, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. It is our own overseer of everything Pop Culture Cosmos, tabletop RPG action, Vampires and Vitae, and so much more. It is my good friend. It is Melinda Barkhouse Ross. And Melinda, great to have you here. Vampires and Vitae is rolling along. You've got some great news about Wizards and Wine. Of course, you and I are still involved with Demolition Force, and we're trying to talk our DM there to go into space sometime later this year. We're talking about Marvel stuff, tabletop RPG style. My gosh, it's just a great time for tabletop RPGs.
It really is. And should I start with my story of woe of what happened just before the live stream started? What do you think? Is it
Absolutely.
a tale to tell?
Epic fail.
Oh my gosh. So I bought a new external hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
Hooray. Lots more space. And I was moving a whole bunch of like our audio and that kind of stuff off of my actual hard drive onto this thing, making backups and all that kind of stuff. And I was just happily and gleefully deleting. My computer was running faster. You know, it told me that it was happier now. And then about 10 minutes before the 10-minute countdown started on Sunday morning for Vampires and Vitae, I realized I had deleted the overlay that we use in OBS. I realized I deleted down in the corner. There's like a little slideshow that we play that's like, what we think our characters look like and that kind of stuff. I deleted our video intro that it took me like 4 months to do because I had no idea what I was doing. And yeah, I had 10 minutes to come up with something. And I mean, the show went on. Oh, and when the show started, I didn't even have headphones plugged in yet because I was like, oh my God, I've deleted everything.
Oh my gosh. Well,
So
I've had those kind of days, I can
oh,
assure
God.
you.
Oh man. That was something else. Yeah. So we got through it, and the podcast fully edited is ready to drop tomorrow morning. So the show happened mostly.
But
So,
it is smooth. Anybody who's listening to that
man,
will never know the difference.
holy smokes, let me tell you. And that was probably the most stressful before the stream that I've had since the very first time we started streaming, when we were
You're
using cell phones for cameras.
you're trying to scramble, get everything started, and Robbie says, "Are we ready to go?" Not now, Robbie.
That was
Something like
pretty
that.
much what it was like, honestly. It was incredible.
Although Robbie's a superstar because I just saw him on social media stirring a whole ton of marinara sauce. So there you go.
Yes.
Absolutely. But
Uh,
it's always great to have you here, my friend. We're going to be talking a few things, including a little indie film I got a chance to see earlier today. So I will have a review. I will have a review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That's coming up here in a few minutes, but it will be non-spoilery. I will just have general thoughts on it on Monday's show, since Josh and I will have already both seen it by that time. Actually, I've seen it. He will see it this weekend. We'll go into full spoiler dome range on the Monday show for that. But today will be a non-spoiler thought on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Plus, speaking of Strange, and speaking of things that are relating to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, we will talk a little bit of Star Trek, because not only is Star Trek Picard finished up its run for this season, also as well, a new series is now underway on Paramount Plus in the realm of Star Trek and Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So we'll talk about what is different and what is familiar with Star Trek Strange New Worlds. That's coming up here in a bit. We'll also be talking about some other things, including their rivals per se, that just had a May the 4th day, once again, Star Wars Day on May the 4th, and that was Star Wars Kenobi, the upcoming series on Disney Plus. That on the back end, we will be talking about the latest trailer that dropped. So we'll be talking about why it's becoming more interesting to check out Kenobi. That's coming up on the show. Plus, also as well, we're going to be talking about House of the Dragon. That just dropped, that trailer there for the August series coming to HBO, the Game of Thrones prequel. So we'll be talking about that. And last but not least, since the Multiverse of Madness is kind of weird, since going into Star Trek Strange New Worlds is strange and weird, we might as well end the show about Weird himself, Weird Al Yankovic, as the first clip from the upcoming autobiography or biography, whatever he wants to call it, with Daniel Radcliffe in the role of Weird Al Yankovic, and that's coming up on the back end of the show. Plus, we've got a great interview in between with producer, actress, director. She does it all in the entertainment industry. It is Erin Brown Thomas. She is talking Severance season 1 and what she would do if she were creating season 2. That's coming up on the show as well. But first, my friend, finally here, the big Marvel movie of the year, at least the first one. The first one that you think is going to do well, but not quite as well as Thor, because you're already on the book saying that you're leaning towards Thor, Love and Thunder. I'm not going to say you might be wrong on that, but at least it's got to get off to a good start, because Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the one thing I think it will do is get off to a fantastic start. It's actually projected to do about $175 to $200 million in its first weekend domestically and over $350 million worldwide in its first weekend. Where it goes from there, I'm not quite sure. I cannot see it doing better than Spider-Man No Way Home. I think that had more good love and good vibes continuously. Plus, I think it was just for a while the only movie in town as far as the competition is concerned. So this will have a lot more competition coming up from Jurassic World. You've got Top Gun Maverick, which I know you already said you were really getting excited over. You have Thor Love and Thunder, which you've already called that movie. You've got Minions, The Rise of Gru. You've got a lot of movies that are coming up in the next couple months, which will peck away at this movie. And I think a lot of people in the back of their minds, if they don't catch it soon enough, they'll go ahead and catch it on Disney Plus anyways. But my friend, are you going to go ahead and check out Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness at the theaters?
I mean, I hope to. I think the only night I can do that is Sunday nights. So, every Sunday that goes by is another week that I won't have gotten to the theater. But yeah, I think that I'm wondering, and let me go on a bit of not a tangent. Just follow me down the yellow brick road here for a second.
Okay,
Follow
Dorothy.
me into the universe. I wonder.
Am I the Cowardly Lion?
No.
I'm the Tin Man.
Yeah. No. No. You're
Scarecrow?
Toto. You're Toto.
Okay. I'm the dog. Fair enough.
That's terrible. Stop.
No, you know what I'm going to say. All right. I'm nipping at your heels then. All right.
Yeah.
How about
Okay.
that?
Okay. No problem. So I wonder. if movies like Doctor Strange, where I mean, he's a character now at this point that I'm safe to say when you say Doctor Strange, people know what you're talking about. But
Yes.
I wonder if not having like Shield and not having all of those different things that tied those movies together in the opening weekend at the box office, so you had to get to the movie right away because you didn't want to have to watch, Shield and then get a massive spoiler. Do you remember when that was happening with the show
Yeah.
and the movies and they had these incredible tie-ins?
Well, I can say that not everything that's been out there on this movie has been dropped. They actually did a pretty good job of hiding
Oh,
some of the
good.
things in there as far as some of the appearances, some of the
Yeah.
things that went on. The movie itself, directed by Sam Raimi, he took over for Scott Derrickson, which is so funny because he directed, I think, picked up right after that Black Phone, which we talked about, which is one of the movies at CinemaCon that was showcased off with
Right.
Ethan Hawke, who just ended his run
Right.
on Moon Knight, which we'll talk about on Monday. That episode just I've got some issues with that show, but I think it's a good show, but it's got some little things I want to talk about. But that's coming up on the Monday show. For this right now, I will say with Sam Raimi, it is a very visually stylistic Sam Raimi movie. It is something that his style. I don't think Scott Derrickson would have approached it in quite the same way. I know he wanted to make it a little bit harder edged. I know he wanted to make it the first true MCU horror movie. It was, thinking all. I think he was going to go all out on an R-rated horror movie type deal, and I don't think the MCU audience is prepared for it. I think
Right.
that this was probably something that was a easier way to go. I think there's something more that a Kevin Feige approved stamp of approval on it as far as allowing where to go and what it can do. There is a couple elements of horror, and I don't want to say horror per se, but there's a couple scares that are out there. So maybe taking the kids might during a couple scenes might be they're going to be grabbing onto you. Let's put it that way. But
Right.
outside of just a couple scenes, I think for the most part it's okay for all audiences to see. I think that it's a okay movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I'm not overwhelmed by it. I'm not going wow. I think if you're a Doctor Strange fan, you're going to get a lot of what you're asking for. If you're a general MCU fan, you're going to say, okay, it's there. If you go into it and you don't know much about the MCU and you only show up for like the Avengers movies, yeah, this is going to be something that's not down your ballpark. So
Right.
I think that's probably what I'm going to probably say. That's probably what I'm going to say the best about it is that it's something that if you're familiar, you're going to be okay with it. I think again, it doesn't do much to further expand the MCU as much as I was hoping it would outside of the cameos. And I'll leave it at that as far as on that end. I mean, the cameos, some of them are really fan service. Some of
Right.
them are mysterious. Some of them are quite surprising. There was a couple that were not. There was a couple that were familiar as far as if you're a Sam Raimi fan, and there was one that was missing that I was kind of disappointed if you're a Sam Raimi fan. But if you're a Sam Raimi a fan of his style and vision of the way he uses camera techniques and the way he uses visionary techniques, you're going to get a lot of that over the course of the 2 hours, a little bit over 2 hours runtime for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The concept itself works most of the time. It gets a little messy here and there, but for the most part, I think it's a decent watch. It's a decent watch, and I think the Metacritic right now at 62 reflects that. That I think the opinions are saying that's good, but it's not the greatest the MCU has to offer by any stretch.
Gotcha. I mean, I enjoyed the first Doctor Strange movie, the same reason why I think I enjoyed Iron Man movies so much.
Mm,
I love there's something about a cocky man that I like. And I think that Doctor Strange, at least in the first movie, when you watch him, as the surgeon and then his fall from, I don't know how to say fall from grace, but his fall from that when the hand surgeries weren't turning out the way that he wanted them to.
mhm.
And then you saw him kind of get this power, but he was, gosh darn it, gonna learn everything on his own terms and all of that kind of stuff. Like I enjoy that in a movie. Do we have a lot of that one in this one?
We have a little bit of that.
Okay.
It still reflects back to him, his relationships in the first movie that you see there is some tie-in to some particular items from the first movie, also some particular items that are dealing with if you're familiar with WandaVision. If you got a chance to check
Right.
out WandaVision, everybody knows out there, they've seen already that Scarlet Witch will play a major role in this film. She does play a major role in this film. And not only is this movie about finding Doctor Strange's inner self, but also as well finding Wanda's, what her motivation is to continue and what her drive is to continue on, after what has been dealt with her in WandaVision and
Right.
how she reacts to that. A lot of that angst is driven through the picture. So I liked it, but I didn't love this movie. I know that a lot of people are out there thinking maybe, I don't know, should I go see it? I think you're going to have fun with it. Again, there's a couple of jump scares that are in there. Some of them but one of them you can really see coming. The other one was nice and caught me by surprise. So I don't know. It does. I think, like I said, it's a good movie. It's definitely not something I wouldn't put in my higher tier of the MCU movies, but it's something, again, for a decent time out. I think it's you can do worse. You can do a lot worse. But
Sure.
there was one glaring omission in a way that I was kind of disappointed from the first movie that you see in a different form here in this movie, and that's something I can't go into too much detail because it's spoilery.
Spoilers. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, like I said, I don't have too many complaints. It does call back to a lot of the first film, and that's, I think, very appreciated. It does call back to WandaVision, some of the events there, and you appreciate that. But also finds its own niche and does use the multiverse concept as well. So I don't think that's a real spoiler when the movie has multiverse in its name. So
Yeah. In the title.
multiverse is something that is utilized in this film, and I think people that are, if you're waiting for that, you're going to get a little bit of that. So yeah, a little bit of everything. But the problem is when you put a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, put all these little bits in there, you don't get something that's full and complete. And I think that's the problem with this movie.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Like it
But
didn't
it's
really.
it's a good movie for what it is. It's just not a
Right.
great one. Just don't expect go in there expecting, don't go in there into, after what we saw with what we've seen with Hawkeye and Moon Knight, both really solid. Obviously Moon Knight is more performance driven. Hawkeye is performance and also structured very well. As we've seen, Avengers Endgame, a really solid film. Infinity War is considered one of the best films. After those movies, Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings was considered a pretty good film. So I go in this maybe not really thinking. I come out of this thinking it's not quite what I wanted it to be, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination.
Worth
I
the
got
price
my
of
money's
popcorn?
worth.
Yeah, worth the price of popcorn then.
Yeah, it's worth the price of popcorn. Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely. Although
Yeah.
I might have lost in the multiverse of madness. You never know. So
The trick is, in order to not lose your popcorn in the multiverse, you gotta throw some, almond M&Ms into your popcorn as you're eating it, and that keeps it out of the multiverse.
that's it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll remember that next time out. I think the family wants to go ahead and check it out again, and then also as well, maybe we'll check it out. We'll do that same thing when we're checking out Top Gun Maverick. Because otherwise it's going to fall out of the cabin. At 35,000 feet. So
Yeah, they
there you
pull some serious G's, those M&Ms, so,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, I thought they pulled some serious M's.
Well, they do, but, every once in a while, you gotta drop a G.
There you go.
No
Drop a
idea
G
what that
note.
means.
Drop a G note indeed. But if you have thoughts out there on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, again, I thought the movie was okay. It didn't overwhelm me. It didn't scare me too much. Again, it's a PG-13 movie, so it really can't do a whole lot of that. So don't expect that outside of a couple times. It's something that is creepy. It's weird, but it's also not quite complete and not quite what I'm asking for. Although maybe because it's a Doctor Strange movie, maybe that's exactly what we got is a strange movie.
Yeah, creepy
But
and strange.
yeah,
I like those things.
creepy and strange. There you go. But if you have thoughts on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, we would love to hear your thoughts. If you've seen it already or you'll check it out this weekend, please let us know on all our social media or popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, there's still much more to talk about on today's program. Something you love so much, and I kind of like it too. I must have with all the time I'm invested into it. Star Trek. One series gone, one series in. This Paramount Plus, you know what? I got to give props to Paramount Plus because they have done an amazing job of reviving the Star Trek name. And I know I think this is one of the first real conversations that we had on this show once you took over the hot seat, and you said that really you're satisfied or really happy with where they're going with this universe and that they just didn't leave it alone. I know that could be a point where there could be a Star Trek overload, but I think with what they have out there and Star Trek Strange New Worlds, that just dropped this past week with its first episode. They're doing some things differently than they do with Discovery or Picard, and Picard just ended this run. Obviously, it's going to be different from Lower Decks. Obviously, it's going to be different from the Star Trek show on Nickelodeon. But your thoughts on Star Trek Strange New Worlds? They're going to a strange new world on each episode. They're going to you're going to different places. It's going to be a different story each and every time out, something that harkens back to the original series. But are you excited to go ahead and check out Star Trek Strange New Worlds?
Yes, I am. I love me a monster of the week, and I'm sure I will love me a planet of the week just as much.
Okay.
I really enjoy that. I'm sure that they're going to still have like a continual thread
And
that's going
that's
to
one thing I
hold
wanted to
the series
ask you about
together. Yeah.
because TNG, the next
Yes.
generation, I don't think I guess you got to go say it's the best of all the series of Star Trek because the fact it did the best with the material that it's given.
Right.
Once it really found its groove, not in season one. There were still some rough points, but by the time season three, season four, it did a episode of the week, a planet of the week, but then it would have overarching narratives like with the Borg, Best of Both Worlds, one and two, things of that nature. As those multi-episode deals they would throw in from time to time just to freshen things up, but they would also have episodic television because they had to create 22 weeks of television. So they would have 15, 17 of those weeks be a different thing each time out. That's what they're going back to with this show is a different thing each and every time out. But I agree with you. The best combination is a little mix of at least some type of story or overarching narrative that would span out for a couple episodes, but then you go right back to the episode of the week that type deal.
Yeah, I always encourage people when they're like, okay, fine, you've talked me into it. I'm going to watch The Next Generation. I encourage them to start watching at the point where they're not in the spandex uniforms anymore. That's when the show kind of turns itself
Is
around, I
that
think.
season three?
I think, yeah, it's something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that, the Q timeline or not timeline storyline that they had and Q would just drop in for an episode every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff with Worf's son Alexander, that was all actually very compelling.
Yeah.
Anything that had to do with Wesley Crusher, sorry, that's my hot take. I enjoyed Wesley. A lot of people found him annoying. I thought he was great. And I hope that they find those ways to find the heart of each of the characters and continue to build on that as they drive forward to all of these different planets and stuff like that. I really do hope that they take that lesson from the Next Generation and keep going with it.
Well, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to push that
Yeah.
aspect of it in all their promotional material. They're trying to push the fact that the narrative is going to be driven with episodic television each and every week. They're going to a new location, going to a new direction, as opposed to what we're seeing or what we just saw finish up with Picard season two, which it was really cool for a little while where they were going from a time to a different planet to a different, I'm sorry, not different, but different time.
Yeah.
From in the first two or three episodes, they were going from one time to another time. Then they stopped at 2024 in Los Angeles, and then they just stayed there for the rest of the season. And it went downhill little by little by little by little, which unfortunately they just weren't able to sustain. I understand there were production costs, and of course it's during during COVID, and I know there
Right.
were some logistic issues there, and they wanted to keep the numbers of people that are actually on the set small. You could obviously tell what they were doing behind the scenes as far as what they were creating out there, but it really didn't make for compelling television after a while. And by the end of the season, which also ended up this past week, it turned out to not to be that great of a season as well, which was kind of disappointing to me because it started out pretty good. I was kind of hopeful on it, and I actually said it on the show. I know IGN can't stand it and said it's one of the worst seasons of Star Trek ever, but that leads us always to our promo that you put on there with your famous line, bad Star Trek. What is it? Okay, I got to.
That Star Trek is better than no Star Trek.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like, what is she like, bad? It's like cold pizza. I think you related it to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if
Even
the
though it's bad,
marinara
it's
sauce
pretty
is
good.
actually made by your husband. Yeah, there you go.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
he makes good marinara sauce. I'll give him that.
There you go. That's for sure, indeed. But Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, I think that it's really got some good vibes, and it looks really nice. So far, from what I've seen, it looks like it's something I really will enjoy more, I think, than Picard. Although I will watch Picard season 3 because it's the final season already. They've already announced that. What I like about this, it's the years just before Pike has his near fatal injury that disfigures him and basically immobilizes him, and the the Enterprise is actually given over to Kirk, James C. Kirk, and you see the events of the original series play out in its entirety after that, and these are the years leading up to it. Will be sorry when they finally finish the series out because I really like Anson Mount as Captain Pike. He really did a bang up job in Star Trek Discovery. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But like I said, when you look at the actors, three of which are coming back. They were guest stars in Discovery for almost an entire season.
Yeah.
Are you excited to go ahead and actually delve into this realm? It sounds like you are.
I absolutely am. Yeah. I'm like, and I'm not going to keep coming back to it because I mean, I love Star Trek. I love everything about it. And we went so long without anything. And now we're just getting, here, have some Star Trek. Here, have some more Star Trek. Oh, you want classic Star Trek? Here you go, have some of that. Oh, you want some spicy animated Star Trek? Here, have some of that. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to watch all of it. And this one I'm certainly intrigued by. I like that it's going to feel really familiar again with how they're approaching and making it episodic and all of that stuff that we already talked about. And yeah, I can't wait to get started.
And I don't have a problem with them putting out as much Star Trek as they are because it seems to be the backbone of what Paramount Plus is. Is it their highest rated programs? No, I think Discovery should be considered that. I think a lot of people need to check out Discovery because I think it's finally hit that sweet spot as far as
Yeah.
the series is concerned. I think
Mhm.
they all know what they're doing by now, and they're all doing a great job. And I think the look of it, I think some of the special effects are really really good for television viewing, as opposed to what we see on their other show on Paramount Plus, Halo, which is like okay, give and take each and every week. We're not sure if it really
Right.
looks bad or it looks good. Yeah, really. And then the acting. Oh yeah, don't get me started on that. Josh and I will probably cover that on the next episode. Can't wait to go ahead and cover episode 7. Although episode 6 actually was the best episode of the series so far, and that isn't saying a whole lot. But I will say that Paramount has got the 1883, so they're actually on the way up. They've actually gained more viewers. I know in a time where Netflix has lost a lot of viewers, they've actually gained a lot of viewers in the interim. So things are looking up for Paramount Plus, but a backbone of what they're doing lies with Star Trek, and hopefully they won't forget that going forward. That they'll still continue to provide viewers with that. Is there anything you really want to see from this episode, this series? Excuse me. Is there anything you want to see from Star Trek: Strange New Worlds that they haven't approached or that they haven't approached for a long time? Because if there's one thing I would like Star Trek to do, I would like to see them finish up Enterprise, give them 100 episodes. They just need 2 episodes. Do a 2 episode thing and finish it up, and finish it on 100, nice even 100 because they ended it after 98 episodes. But if they're not going to do that, I think there's a lot of places Star Trek: Strange New Worlds can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Star Trek has always been, kind of on the pulse of popular culture in a very Star Trek way.
Mhm.
They've always talked about a lot of social issues and stuff like that in the show. I think that it's one of the things that Roddenberry, really felt passionate about,
Yeah.
and being able to examine those kinds of social issues in a way that wasn't, completely zoomed in and microscopic, microscopic. No, that's not it. Anyway, really zoomed in on current.
Microscopic. There you go.
It's a microscopic issue. That didn't feel quite right. Anyway,
Okay.
yeah, it just I'm excited to just kind of get back to that familiar, saunter and stroll that you take with a Star Trek episode where you meet a new alien, maybe they pop up again in 4 or 5 episodes, maybe they don't. Maybe you get another Risa planet, maybe we're going to find out more about them setting up the vacation of a dream, the dream of a vacation world of Risa. I don't know. It'll be really cool. And
Maybe more trouble with tribbles.
yeah, I mean, I never hate on a Tribble episode ever. I'm always happy to discuss Tribbles
Okay.
anytime. Yeah, yeah, just don't have more than one of them on your ship. That causes
Yeah,
trouble.
and then you see Uhura is
Yes.
yes, she just is a cadet straight from Star Trek's, the as far as the whole, she's just starting out on our Star Trek space. She's just starting out with the Federation as far as that's concerned. She just got
Yeah.
out of school. Then you see Spock. He looks like he's already in a relationship already, which is kind of different. So they've
Ladies
already
man,
got.
that guy.
Yeah, he is. I don't know. Oh, he didn't know, man. My
I think
goodness.
so.
Then Anson Mount, as Captain Pike again. I hope he doesn't do the Captain Kirk thing where he's romancing someone on each and every week, like William Shatner was. Come on, just got to go
Yeah,
ahead and save the galaxy each and every week. That's what
that
you got to
Star yeah, that Star Trek trope can go away with Captain
do.
Kirk.
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody would be, really sad to see that kind of.
Which alien can I smooch this week?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to say cavalier or if I want to say roguish kind
Okay,
of archetype or bardic. I don't, maybe from the D&D world, maybe that's a little bit more accurate. I don't know.
we'll
Um,
see.
but
But
yeah, I do also, I agree with you there. I hope that they don't do that.
but the one thing that you and I both want to see is the birth of the red shirts and how that came to be.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Got to
Yeah.
see that. Yes. Don't wear the red shirt if you're on Star Trek.
Well, it depends though. For the original series, red shirts were bad. In Next Generation, red shirts were your
Yeah,
officers,
that's
your
true. But
command staff.
but
So
these are based off the original, the TOS. So yeah.
yeah, okay, well then there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, you don't want to be a red shirt.
Goodbye. Bye bye. But
Whoops.
yeah, exactly. But what are your thoughts out there on Star Trek Strange New Worlds and also Star Trek Picard? The season 2 just ended for Star Trek Picard, and season 1, the debut episode for Star Trek Strange New Worlds, just appeared on Paramount Plus. Please let us know your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up next, we've got Erin Brown Thomas talking about some Severance. How did she like season 1? And if she, as a prolific writer, director, producer, actress, was was in charge of working on the next season of Severance, what would she do for season 2 of Severance? She lets you know her thoughts coming up right after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. It's the PCC Multiverse. Want to thank Erin Brown Thomas for stopping by in the program. Hopefully, I will get her back on as we get closer to season 2 of Severance, and hopefully, she'll be able to come back and not only talk about that, but all of her other great projects as well. Don't forget, we're the #1 tabletop RPG streamer on Facebook, Vampires and Vitae, which is going to be smoothly run next time around with no
With a
problems at all.
brand new intro as well this Sunday. Brand
Okay.
spanking new. I'm
Okay,
really
brand
proud of
new
it.
intro. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. By no means out of necessity at all. That'll be coming up for you on the weekend. Plus, also as well, you've got Wizards and Wine. I know you wanted to mention something with Wizards and Wine as well before we head on out.
Yeah, so we have finally figured out when we're going to start the next campaign, which is going to be the Wild Beyond the Witchlight. So I'm going to be running 2 different games in the Feywild. Decisions made by one group in one game will have consequences for the other group. So I'm excited to see how that's going to turn out. Our live streams will start on the 13th, and we're going to start publishing podcast episodes as of the 27th of June. So June's the big month. Yeah, we're really excited. The girls are all, I get woken up by messages at 6 o'clock in the morning of them talking about what their characters are going to be and all of that kind of stuff. So everybody's really excited about jumping into this one.
And your response is, can the DM just get some sleep?
Not at all. I chime in every once in a while and they're like, yo, okay, DM, we'll think about that. And then they go
All right.
about their business.
Fair
As
enough.
players do.
But Wizards and Wine is coming back at you strong here in the next few weeks, so stay tuned for that. And of course, each week, the number one tabletop RPG streamer on Facebook, you got Vampires Vitae. You've got the great games running by our good friend Mitch on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and also the Demolition Force run by Roger. Want to give him a big props to going ahead and dealing with us for so many weeks, and hopefully, if all comes to fruition, we will be going and heading into space later this year. But looking forward to that as well. But before we head on out, my friend, a couple things we want to cover. Kenobi for
Yes.
Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you, even though it's no longer the 4th.
No, today is Revenge of the 5th. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I've heard, yes, but I love Mexican food. So I love the Hispanic culture, and you know what? I can dig it. I'll take that revenge any day of the week. But Kenobi dropped another trailer in advance of the series coming out later this month, which I'm sure we will be talking about. And it's starting to really look good for me as the almost like the old show on Fox with the America's Most Wanted. This is the Empire's Most Wanted with him as
yeah,
the Empire's Most Wanted. It's got the full wanted poster, wanted image, and everything. He's got Darth Vader, just around there. Just you see him skulking around at the end of the trailer there, and you see all the Inquisitors, I believe that they're called. They're
Mhm.
three of them, three main ones, especially one young lady who is really mad at him. He's got a
yeah,
lot of issues with Kenobi. Yeah,
yeah,
she is all over there, yeah, shouting at him. He actually sees Luke starting to grow up to be a young man and sees the potential that he has and wants to talk to Uncle Ben. And Uncle Ben is like, "Oh yeah, you did a great job with Vader. Oh, I'm sorry, Anakin. Oh, I'm sorry, Vader. You did a great job with him.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well done.
yeah, well done. Yeah, I'm going to let you go ahead and work with Luke now. Yeah. So I don't know. It just seems like to me that I enjoy what's going on with the Kenobi, but Ian McGregor is knocking. It looks like he's going to knock it out of the park once again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if okay, so I don't is there normally like and maybe I'm completely wrong in my interpretation of the quick shots that we were seeing of the city that had all of the neon lights.
Sort of
That
Blade Runner esque, wasn't it?
Yeah, it looks a little cyberpunk-ish mixed in with some Star Wars. So I'm incredibly intrigued by that. I've never seen that before in Star Wars.
Well,
Again,
actually, there was a little bit of taste of that in one of the prequel movies a
yeah,
long time ago.
yeah, I again do not profess myself to be a diehard Star Wars fan. I'm a passive fan. I will call it that. But yeah, that intrigued the heck out of me in the trailer. So I'll definitely be tuning in for that.
Absolutely, as will I. It looks like something that's really good for Disney Plus. Wishing was coming. Wish it was coming next week.
Right?
Because again, they're not learning from their mistakes. A buffered time where they don't have one marquee series and another marquee series following up right after it. Got to wait until the end of the month. You don't learn, Disney Plus. This is how I found Severance in the first place. But hey, you want people starting to look all over again? You got your chance right now. Dig on America just stopped by. Great show indeed. Got to please go ahead and check that out wherever you get your podcasts and also on YouTube. He's asking, just wondering if they get as overly political in this like they did in the prequels and the animation. I'm not sure if they will. I know they will probably touch on it in certain points because you've got the Empire now in control in the series at the time this takes place. Order 66 has just been given. Most of the Jedi's have been, unfortunately killed off. The other ones went into hiding, which he's encouraging in the trailer that you see. So he obviously finds some Jedi and encourages them to continue to go ahead and keep on the low while the Empire is trying to go ahead and strike at him. Dig on America says, why do they think that they can't have two shows at once? I don't know what it comes. You know what? That's a great question. Dig on America. I'm telling you right now,
Hey.
when it comes to that, it just Disney Plus just gotta have more fun. It'd be great if they had a show on Monday, a Star Wars show on Monday or Tuesday, and then you had a Thursday or Friday show with Marvel, just or vice versa. It just seems like a natural that they should go ahead and do that to control the audience, to get the audience to stay with your network, to stay with your streaming platform. If you don't have continuously quality viewing things to view, You see what happens with Netflix. They didn't keep on rolling with a lot of good stuff or stuff that people liked. So people just started tuning out because they didn't want to pay the high price for what they were getting. So I'll tell you what, I'm hopeful that the Disney Plus will actually start getting it in their heads. You know what? We need to provide continuous content. I mean, that's a problem for you as well. I mean, because people will just drop out and drop their subscriberships until they wait for something better.
Yeah, that's all really good points. And I'm sure that, somebody at Disney sees that as well. And maybe they're not doing that because they have, the big Marvel movies that are coming out. Maybe they don't want people to stay home and watch TV instead of going to the movies.
Well, they haven't found any original programming or too much in the way of original programming that's not Marvel or Star Wars related that are getting people to go ahead and check out their check out their channel, to check out
Right.
their streaming platform.
Right.
Cheaper by the dozen, anything that they're doing as far as the Mighty Ducks or anything that they're doing as far as the other things. Maybe the Percy Jackson reboot will do something for them, but anything that they're doing before really hasn't worked. I'd love to see them go back into the galaxy of Tron. That would be awesome, but I think they could still do good things there. But is it well known enough to go ahead and bring in the audience and keep the audience happy? I'm not so sure. I just know right now, if it's not Disney or Star Wars, it's very hard for Disney Plus to go ahead and keep continuously bringing audiences. The only time that they did that was when they debuted Turning Red, and it's actually become such a hit movie for them on the streaming platform. That partly because there's just nothing else to watch that's original.
And maybe that's part of what they're doing. Maybe they're doing it on purpose because that is something that is keeping them separate from the other streaming services.
Maybe.
Get them for 6 weeks, take a break for 6 weeks, get them back for 6 more weeks.
But
I
it
don't know.
just seemed to me like on this show, we were talking about Netflix. Then right around the turn of this year,
Mhm.
after Cobra Kai, I don't see a lot of interest still outside of Bridgerton. There's a lot of shows that a lot of people have sustained viewing. We talk about what happened with Cowboy Bebop. We talked about a lot of other shows that are on the network that really have not sustained the viewership. And we're seeing now the price that they're paying because of it. You see what's going on with HBO Max. They're putting on good shows, heavily viewed shows after the day and date, and they're actually gaining subscribers. Paramount Plus, Halo, 1883, the Star Wars, the Star Trek stuff. They're doing something to load up a lot of available viewing that people consider good shows that they need to go ahead and catch on a weekly basis. So that's why they're on the upswing. So you and I have got to go into detail on the streaming platforms in more detail on the show. We got to dedicate a show to it. Maybe we can later this month, but we'll wait and see. But before we head on out, great questions, Dig on America. We truly appreciate you watching and everybody out there catching us. But before we head on out, we mentioned Kenobi. There's another trailer that dropped from a marquee IP, and that was Game of Thrones with its prequel, House of the Dragon. You saw some dragons in this trailer. What are your thoughts on the prequel, House of the Dragon, coming this August? Another show that's coming to HBO and HBO Max.
Well, the two who were in control of the last season of Game of Thrones don't have anything to do with this one, right?
No, I don't believe I mean, they might be having some influence, maybe as a producer role, but I don't think really a whole lot because it's something that I think there's going to be a lot of offshoots from the Game of Thrones that we're going to see
Sure.
over the next
Yeah.
few years. This is
Yeah,
just going to be
sure.
the first.
Sure. But I mean, honestly, you put swords and a dragon into a show, and I'm gonna watch it, and I'm probably gonna love it, even if it's terrible. I I don't know why. I love me some dragons and I love me some swords. So
Okay.
uh, it'll be interesting though to see the early days of House Targaryen
Yeah.
and how the relationship with the dragons has changed and evolved and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm very much looking forward to the series. I have missed the universe of Game of Thrones. And I think that I have let go enough of the anger that I had over that last season that I'm ready to kind of give it another chance. So,
Okay. Fair enough. I
mhm.
thought for a second there, I thought you were going to come back to life like the White Walker did, with all the dead bodies he brought back to life, and all that.
No, if
So,
I'm coming back to life, I'm coming back to life like Jon Snow.
okay. Fair
Yeah,
enough
not a White
indeed.
Walker. Yeah.
Yeah, not as White Walker. That's with the eyes. No, not
Yeah,
happening there.
no,
But
no.
it is the House of the Dragon. It really looks like something I think people will get back into. I think there's been enough time now since the end of Game of Thrones, and
Yeah.
like you said, the angst and the anger and the angst people had over that last season, the way it finished up, and it finished up on such a poor note that I think that it is now time to get back into it, because if it really clicks as Game of Thrones season 6, season 7, people were just going fanatical over this. And I think that by the time that it got into there, if they can go back and reach into that type of quality on an each and every week basis on this prequel, I think they'll get back in the viewers. And I think it'll be something that'll be appointment viewing for Game of Thrones fans once again. So I really like where they're headed with that. But again, HBO's hit on a lot of right numbers this year with a lot of their series. So Winning Time, Our Flag Means Death, Tokyo Vice, I like, but it hasn't gotten a season 2 renewal yet. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Euphoria, that's been great as far as that series really doing a lot of good numbers as well. So a lot of good things on the way for HBO Max, and that includes House of the Dragon. What are your thoughts on House of the Dragon? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I cannot thank you enough for stopping by. But one last thing we got to talk about as we get a little weird before the
Whoa.
end of the as we get a little weird before the end of the episode. We just did get a little bit weird, but I want to hear your thoughts, Melinda, on Weird, the Al Yankovic story. That just dropped its first teaser with Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe himself playing the role of Weird Al. From what few words he was talking about, I'm just not remembering Weird Al being that subdued, seemingly, when he was talking and communicating that time. Just seems to me that every conversation I've ever heard, he's a little bit more upbeat. He's a little bit, high pitched, squeal, things. But Daniel Radcliffe is approaching this from a different style as far as the voice is concerned. But you know what? Hand him an accordion, he'll play it, because that's all they saw in the trailer was a lot of accordions, and I think that's really up
And
Weird
rightfully
Al's
so.
alley. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I hope they touch on UHF as well.
Yeah, and I think the thing about the teaser that we saw or trailer was we don't know at what stage of Weird Al Yankovic's evolution that was in. That could
I'm
have been in
assuming
the
it's when he
early.
was a hit, right around the 80s, late 80s after Eat It and all that.
Sure, it may have predated that though, and it could have been something that where we see him develop the Weird Al persona.
Mhm.
So perhaps that awkward, stiff, weird voice thing was something that he tried, and maybe he had somebody, maybe a manager or something like that, kind of work with him. I don't know, but I'm optimistic about it. I do love me some Weird Al, and I know that pop stars are still flattered and thrilled when Weird Al calls and says, "Hey, I've done a parody of your song."
Absolutely. I know for the most part, that people were very receptive and honored that he would do that. Got some pushback from some and some outright refusals from some others, but he has talked about that over the years. But for the most part, he has been an outstanding individual as far as creating music from parodies that he's developed in such a way that has been unique and original in and of itself. I actually am a big fan of what he's done. A lot of the stuff he's done. If you ever get a chance out there to listen to Word Crimes, I really think that's one of his best. That's just me. He's got so many others that people always need to talk about as well. His original songs are not too bad too. The ones that he made that are not a parody, but people always forget about that. That yes, he does have original music that he plays on his shows and actually has on his albums. So I really think that this is going to be a fun one. It's going to be set up for. Is it on Roku or which streaming outlet? It's not. It's not on
Here.
a streaming. It's on. I think it's on Roku, or is it on? It's one. It's on one of the ones that are just starting up a whole. They're known for having a lot of channels on their service, but they're actually also starting to go ahead and build their own roster and their own library of original programming as well.
Yeah, I'm just doing a quick scan. Yeah, Roku.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
it'll be
thought.
available
So
on Roku. Yeah.
yeah, this is I think one of their first original movies. So really, a way to go. This will either crash and burn, or there you go, a big hit for them. But I'm hoping it's a big hit because again, I'm really eager to see, and I know you and I will go ahead and hopefully get a chance to check it out when it comes out later this year. But any thoughts on Weird before we head on out?
Bring it on.
Okay, bring it on. Bring it on. Somebody hand
Those
me
are
an
my
accordion.
yeah, those are my prolific thoughts on that movie. I'm
Okay.
excited. I think it's gonna be a fun trip to the theater, and,
No,
I
it's
mean
no theater. It's just going straight to streaming,
yeah,
straight to
well,
Roku.
I think that people also forget, like, he has won quite a few Grammys. It's either 4 or
Yes.
7. I can't remember if it's 4 or 7. It's one of
Yeah.
those 2 numbers, though.
And he has a number one album.
Yeah,
And that,
yeah,
yeah, it's just absolutely.
platinum
He
albums, the whole thing,
yeah.
so
Yeah, absolutely. But this is going straight to Roku.
yes,
So
that's
just
right.
to let everybody know, it's going straight to Roku. And a lot of people will be curious to see Daniel Radcliffe throwing away the wand for a little while and putting on the big wig and handing himself an accordion and seeing what he can go from there as Weird Al Yankovic in Weird. What are your thoughts on the Weird Al story, Weird, coming to Roku later this year? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode, but any last thoughts before we head on out?
Yes, bring on some Game of Thrones, and, there's never enough Star Trek.
Weird, strange. This show has been weird and strange indeed. So, for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great